Many thought it was game over for Chevy's entry-level crossover, the Trax, especially after the Trailblazer rolled in for 2021. But guess what? Chevy pulled a surprise move, reviving the Trax for a second generation. It's bigger, bolder, and packed with more tech than ever before. Then there is the Nissan Kicks. Let's be real, it never really stole the spotlight, and its sales showed it. But for 2025, Nissan's turning things around. The all-new Kicks is here with hit-turning style, a roomier tech-filled interior, and wait for it, all-wheel drive. So to help you choose between them, in this video we'll compare both SUVs' designs inside and out, pricing and how they drive. So without any further ado, let's get into it. The 2024 Trax adopts styling cues from the current Blazer. The running lights along the edge of the hood and the larger trapezoidal opening in the lower fascia are the most prominent similarities. However, this model has split headlights that place the main lamps in the far corners. As for size, it's significantly longer, lower and wider than the old, awkwardly tall Trax, and the nicely proportioned new model has an almost wagon-like look. The base LS model looks pedestrian with its hubcaps and lack of bright trim, but the LT, RS, and active trim levels are relatively stylish thanks to nice wheels, interestingly shaped headlights and taillights, and distinctive grille trim up front. The 2024 Trax is shaping up to be one of those affordable vehicles that make you look back at it. And that's certainly not something that happens every day for a vehicle in this space or at this price point. As for Nissan, the Kicks experienced a glow-up. It's not only bigger, but it's also more stylish than before. For 2025, it is 2.3 inches longer and 1.6 inches wider than the previous model. Up front, there is some family resemblance, but for the most part, it has a unique look. There is an upright wide grille that integrates 3 LED stripes on either side in the SR model. On the S and SV, those stripes are replaced with chrome bars. From the side, it lacks any real top design creases or folds. Instead, wide anchored curves do the talking, which looks very attractive compared to the Trax, especially with the bigger wheels. At the rear, it looks far more muscular than the Chevy, with the same split-level design that's up front featured on the taillights. A roof spoiler is standard, as is the lower diffuser to round out a really nice look. When it comes to exterior design, I definitely prefer Nissan's look to that of the Chevy Trax. Jumping inside, the Chevy's cabin doesn't look outwardly cheap. The cabin is roomy with a pleasantly low dash that opens up an expansive view forward and to the sides. The dashboard itself is stylish with big round air vents at each corner, and the Camaro-like center air vents placed beneath the piano-like panel that houses the central touchscreen. Build quality seems tight, but we're not too down on the Trax's cheap-feeling interior materials given the low price point. The plastics are hard and scratchy, but the crucial areas, the dash top, the door panels, and the upholstery, at least have some interesting textures to keep them from looking too bargain basement. As for infotainment, entry-level LS and 1RS models get analog gauges with a basic display, along with a smaller 8-inch old-generation touchscreen. But the rest of the lineup gets a fully digitized cluster that only allows one bit of secondary info at a time, such as trip data or coolant temperature, alongside the speedometer, tachometer, and fuel gauge. On the upside, those displays are very sharp and feature attractive graphics and fonts. The larger touchscreen in particular looks great and includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. As for Nissan, the Kicks interior is decked out in high-quality materials and eye-catching patterns. The loaded SR model comes with upholstery and trim pieces double-stitched in dark orange and gray threads. The faux carbon fiber dash trim is actually a soft, spongy material that is a pleasant surprise and doubles as a palm rest when using the touchscreen. Not as comfy though is the non-padded center console cover, which is a weird oversight. The cabin definitely looks and feels more premium than that in the Trax. However, the Chevy's interior might suit people who prefer a high-tech look. The Kicks also comes with a decent amount of technology. Standard is a 12.3-inch driver information display that dwarfs the one in the Taos and sits next to the infotainment screen. In lower trim models, it measures 7 inches in size, while the upgraded system comes in 12.3 inches. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard. As for passenger and cargo space, the Chevy seats not only look good, but are also comfortable. But the seat cushions might be a bit short for tall passengers. Rear legroom is great, and despite a roof that is 3.5 inches lower, headroom is unchanged at the front and a hair less in the rear compared to the previous generation. As for cargo space, there is a massive 54.1 cubic feet behind the first row of seats and 25.6 cubic feet with all seats in use. As for the Nissan, since it grew in every dimension, there is more space both front and back. The front seats are spacious enough for most, even taller people will fit in the front with room to spare, with plenty of width in the interior. Out back, things aren't as good as the front. A 6-footer sitting behind a similarly lofty driver will find their knees awfully close to the back of the driver's seat. And compared to the Trax, the Chevy offers 4 inches more legroom in the back. The Kicks cargo space is larger than that on the Trax across the board, with 30 cubic feet behind the rear seats. Hold them flat and you get 60 cubes. As for pricing, the Chevy Trax is definitely affordable. The base LS starts at $21,500, but the LT at $22,700 is the sweet spot between affordability and features. It comes with the big 11-inch infotainment touchscreen, remote start, 17-inch wheels and automatic climate control. There is even an option to add heated front seats and steering wheel. The top-of-the-line Active and 2 RS trims cost $24,500. As for the Kicks, it provides fantastic value, with the S trim starting at a fantastic $21,900. The mid-tier SV is the one to get. It comes with a larger 12.3-inch infotainment touchscreen, 17-inch alloy wheels, a wireless charging pad, and hands-free proximity key. Note that all-wheel drive is optional on all 3 trims. The fully loaded SR model comes at $26,200, making it $1,700 more expensive than the Trax, but without offering a real advantage value here. When it comes to driving and handling, the 2025 Trax and Nissan Kicks offer 2 very different driving experiences. First up, the 2025 Chevy Trax. Under the hood, it features a 3-cylinder engine that's surprisingly peppy and even has a distinctive sound. Paired with a conventional 6-speed automatic transmission instead of the CVT you'll find in the Nissan, the Trax delivers smooth and responsive acceleration. With 137 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque, it has no trouble getting up to speed, even without frequent downshifts. Chevrolet claims it's a full second quicker to 60 miles per hour than its predecessor, which is impressive for a compact SUV. On the road, it feels refined and composed. It handles bumps and road surfaces with ease, rounding off harsh impacts without much head toss or crashing noises. Road noise is kept at a moderate level, giving the cabin a quiet and comfortable vibe. Part of this smooth ride comes from its long wheelbase, 106.3 inches, which is generous for this class, and its well-sized tires, which add to its stability. While the Trax isn't exactly a sporty SUV, it handles corners securely with minimal body lean. It's not the most exciting drive out there, but it's practical, comfortable, and confident, perfect for daily commutes or weekend road trips. Now let's shift gears to the Nissan Kicks. This little SUV packs a non-turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder engine producing 141 horsepower and 140 pound-feet of torque. On paper, that's more power than the Trax, but in reality, the Kicks feels slower, especially at highway speeds. The upgraded Xtronic CVT transmission responds quickly when you hit the gas, but the engine gets loud and acceleration is pretty slow. It's not exactly a thrill-in drive, but the Kicks made some notable improvements in drivability. The new platform feels stronger and more planted with less body flex, giving it a solid and stable feel on the road. The steering wheel is smaller with a thin rim, which might feel a bit odd at first, but it does provide better feedback to the driver. That said, compared to the Chevy Trax, the Kick still feels a bit less refined and grown-up. One standout feature is its all-wheel drive system, which is an on-demand all-wheel drive setup that stays in front-wheel drive most of the time. Only when the vehicle detects slippage does it engage the rear wheels, adding a bit of extra stability in tricky conditions. It's a handy feature, but it doesn't transform the Kicks into an off-road champ. So which one should you get? Well, it feels like we are getting less and less for our hard-earned cash lately, which makes a legitimately expensive new car an increasingly appealing proposition. The Trax isn't particularly engaging or refined, but its attractive pricing lowers expectations to the point that you can really appreciate what it does offer: a generously sized interior, impressive feature content, and good looks. The Kicks is definitely worth considering, but pricing of the Trax just puts it ahead in this comparison.